dream that I had for several years now. It's about taking the power of storytelling to embrace our own collective history as a people. Through our individual stories, we're able to see the common thread that binds us together as one. One person's personal journey has become our collective culture, heritage, and history. This series will show people from all walks of life sitting down with me as the host and going through their life journey. Sometimes there are unknown elements of their lives, but ultimately we're going to walk away having learned something new with every person that we sit down with. I guess I would explain it as an exploration of our story. I'm naturally curious about people and their lives, so Cayman Voices is exciting and allows me to capture this for everyone to enjoy. We are seeking out Caymanians, multi-generational, as well as some who have moved here to, uproot their entire lives and to make this their home. This dream would not be possible without some sponsorship, and so I'd like to thank the DART organization for stepping up to the plate to ensure that we're able to deliver regular monthly content for our viewers to enjoy. So sit back, kick up your feet, turn up the radio, relax, and listen to Cayman Voices. So folks, another Cayman Voices segment. I must tell you that I'm so tickled pink to have Miss Francine here with us today. What a beautiful young lady. We're going to find out all about her as much as we can here today in this segment. Miss Francine, first of all, I appreciate you so much for doing this interview. Thank you very much. One of the first questions I tend to ask people, a lot of people will listen and watch this segment. There are people who, of course, will know exactly who you are, but we have a whole generation of young people who might not know who Miss Francine is. And I said, wow, this is a lovely lady from West Bay, but who is she? Who are her parents? Where did she come from? So can you dial back now, 95?
90. I am 95.
95.
But
wow.
Yeah. I particularly want to tell you about my wedding, which took place 75 years ago.
Oh my gosh. We're going to get to that. But tell me, who are your parents?
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I was born in Boddentown, but I was adopted and grew up in West Bay.
Okay.
So West Bay is my home.
Yes.
If I go into telling you my whole story now, it's going to take a long time, and then I won't have the time to tell you perhaps about my wedding.
Yes. Well, just a little snippet then.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Who adopted you in West Bay, and where
First of all, I know about. I was 4 years old in the 1932 hurricane.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I used to visit. My mother used to visit, but remember now, in those days, you couldn't visit between the districts because there was very little chance of getting. And my mother was in Boddentown, and my father in Cuba. So my mother would, or I don't know how often she'd got to, perhaps only once or maybe twice, she came to from Boddentown to West Bay to see my father's parents.
I see.
Or cousins or brothers or whatever. Right. Anyway.
So your mother was originally from West Bay?
Carter, yes.
Okay.
No, not from West Bay, from Boddentown.
She was Boddentown.
Carter from Boddentown.
Okay, but she would visit then other family members.
Well, she came occasionally to West Bay when she could.
Yes.
Remember now that those days there was little chance of getting from district to district. So she probably only came once. Anyway, these people from West Bay, Mabel and Caleb Powell, were recently married and recently moved into a house and their home and didn't have children. And they met me in West Bay and wanted to adopt me.
Oh, wow.
Okay. They came to Boddentown, and my mother said, no, she's too young. I can't have that happening.
Yes.
And
were you still a baby at that time, or a toddler? You were still
I
a
was
baby.
still a baby. But then we had the hurricane, the 1932 hurricane.
Yes.
And I was a little girl, 4 years old. And our house got destroyed, and we all had to go.
Yes.
In my mother's house, there were other families or other people. If I told you about that, I'd take all day.
Yes.
All of that, so I'll skip that.
Okay.
But we had to go to Peace Bay to live with our aunt, who was married and had a house there, and her own children. I think she only had one child at the time. But we were all like 10 or so. So anyway, my mother decided that she would let me go with these people. And the people came back to see me, and my mother let me go to visit until we got our house repaired.
Right. Okay.
Now, the chance of getting the house repaired was kind of slim, but anyway, I had uncles who was in the States sending home money. So my father's out of the picture altogether now. I don't know. So the next stage is that on this second visit, my mother let me go. Let me go to West Bay with these people. Well, I was tiny.
Yes.
And cute, they tell me, so cute that in a little while I lived on Henning Road with them, and all around there were boys and girls and families there, and they took me as a little pet for the neighborhood.
Yes, you must have been pretty like a little doll. They were so happy to have you.
It was a kind of, that's what they tell me, that I was a little doll for the neighborhood. Anyway, I grew up in West Bay.
And you know what, Miss Francine, you say that story, but I have discovered that probably in those days wasn't that uncommon for that to happen.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't uncommon.
Yeah.
I can't say it was a common thing in West Bay. I can remember a couple of other people who were adopted, but it wasn't. I can't say it was a common thing. Now, one of my best friends now was adopted because she died in childbirth, and her mother, her grandmother, took her to as her own. But that was a different. Anyway.
But the communities back then, I was thinking as you were speaking, Mr. John Douglas had a similar story where his aunt raised him. You know, so it just happened that if something happened, the family had financial issues, a hurricane, whatever, other family members, sometimes not even necessarily close family, but people would step forward and say, let me help you with at least one child here, another child
That's
here.
right. That's right. Those things did happen.
Yeah.
So I had a good childhood in West Bay because my parents doted on me. But my father got sick. By this, I was calling them mother and father, of course, mom and daddy.
Yeah.
But my daddy got sick. He was a mate on the Noka. And he got wet and stayed in wet clothes or however, and he got sick. And he had rheumatoid arthritis for all the rest of his life.
Wow.
So my mother and I had a hard time. No, I call her Mum.
Yes.
Because my mother is in Boddentown, remember now.
Yes, I understand.
Or I think maybe at this time she had gone back to Cuba. Anyway,
So she originally, can I just ask you a little bit about the Cuban connection so I can understand that? You said your father was from Cuba. Do you know what part of Cuba he was from?
Isle of Pines, I think.
Isle of Pines, okay.
Yeah. So I have, but my mother, I didn't have any more to do with my father
Okay,
at that
I
time.
understand. Yes.
That was the end of that.
Yeah.
my mother went back. When she went back to Cuba, she went back to a job, because Caymanians then, they didn't, Cayman women then were trying to find jobs out if they didn't have any other support in this.
Right.
This only support that Mama had was her brothers were in the States and sending money
Whatever
home,
they
and
could.
was that they were depending on to
Yes.
repair the house.
Okay.
And the house, we'll forget about that part, because the house got repaired long after I was settled in West Bay and was a West Bayer by then.
Yes.
I didn't. It was
They
no
took you
question
right
of
in.
going.
Yeah.
It was no question of going back to Buttontown
Yes.
after the house, because I was settled
Well
in West
settled.
Bay.
Yes.
And
Wonderful.
it
And what
was-
kind of work would your mother have been doing in Cuba? Do you know? Was it more like domestic work or?
I suppose it was domestic.
Okay, so we were just saying about your mom, just trying to understand what she would have been doing in Cuba, because this again is a consistent theme that in those days, Caymanians didn't have opportunities here. So if we had to go to the U.S., or men went out to sea, women went to Cuba, Bay Islands, different places. So your mom was looking for work then, whatever
was
she
looking
could
for,
get.
and I don't know, but she didn't have any skills
Yes.
like nursing or remember, this is
The early
years
days.
ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I guess she did
Yes.
some
What she could, yeah.
what she could. I guess she did housework. However, in West Bay, with my dad sick, it was just myself and my mom to manage.
Right.
And I remember telling someone the other day that I remember we had to we kept cows,
Okay.
which I had to milk
Wow.
for to get milk to sell. We had chickens, which we penned up and had. We had a lot of land around it, actually, around our house. And we had, I remember, in fact, I read that somewhere, I hadn't even remembered that recently, that that we had the first gas station.
So you had a lot of you had things around the house then for provisions, for basic provisions,
Yeah.
cows, chickens.
So we and we bought and sold gas because there wasn't a gas station,
Oh,
and
I
there
see.
were one or two cars. I can't remember. Perhaps about 3 cars in West Bay at the time.
Okay.
So my dad had one of those,
Uh-huh.
but I can't remember what happened anyway.
So where would you guys get the gas from to sell?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't. Must have been from some
Probably in
other
town or
station in
something.
town.
Yeah.
It must have been some.
Okay.
I even perhaps shouldn't have mentioned that because I remember.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
that's
remember
okay.
much about
So it was kind of like you and your mom then had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. You did what you had to do
Yeah.
to support yourselves and your dad and stuff. Yeah.
But then I went to school, and of course that was top. I had a very good year. Had a very good year.
Yeah.
Very good childhood.
Yes.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Although
And did your mom and dad, I see you light up a little bit when you talk about you went to school. I mean, in those days, I know it was difficult because a lot of people were finished with school at 13. There weren't a whole lot of options, right? So I'm sure they were pressing you to create a profession and opportunities for yourself by going to school.
Well, there weren't any opportunities for women to do. Remember how I got a job when I was old enough to work. Before this, of course, I had gone to as high as I could go into school. I'd passed my exams, pupil teacher's exam, and all that in school. But as far as jobs were concerned, well, I guess some people may have. I don't remember any of my friends having any jobs. But I did go. They probably went away because travel in those days. The parents, their parents took their children away a lot because there was nothing for them to do in West Bay or in Cayman, I should say.
Yeah.
The only thing that women could do in Cayman in those days was get married. I'll tell you the truth. That was the only option.
Yes.
So, but I did work for a little in Uncle Prentice's shop. That is brother's shop. He had out on the bay, and out on the what we call the bay was out. Well, it is still the bay, but it's not called that anymore. From you enter West Bay,
right?
You go out, and there were no buildings there. No,
yes.
There was a wharf and a beach. The whole thing was a beach.
So that was Northwest Point Road.
No, not
which
yet.
road is that?
That
before you get to that.
Before you get to Northwest Point, it is just as you enter West Bay, and you go.
So before the four-way stop.
No, at the four-way stop.
Okay.
And you go out. Like now it is the gas station on the one side and the other. Well, all of that wasn't there, remember?
Yes.
So from the whole thing was West Bay beach.
Right.
The whole thing was beach.
And you guys called it the Bay in those days.
And we called it the Bay in those days. Now, what was I telling you?
Yeah. So you were saying then that...
Yeah, that's where his shop was. And I worked there. So it was near enough to Henning Lane that I just walked out and stayed in the shops with him, helping in the shop and came home. Well, that was my...
That was your little job.
That was my little job.
Yes. And what kind of shop was that? Just a little variety shop?
Just a little variety of groceries and everything, every little thing he could do.
Yes. Wow.
He, by the way, was Jenna Manderson's father.
Okay.
Because Jenna Manderson's father and my dad, my adopted dad, which I call dad, they were brothers.
Ah, okay. So that was your uncle then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my uncle's shop.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
And I worked in that. Okay.
Wonderful.
Now, I've got to get back to telling you about my wedding.
Yes.
Or tell you about weddings in general.
Yes.
You can imagine there weren't many things to do.
Yes.
I mean, church was the middle of our life. Everybody practically that I can think of went to church. And I mean the Presbyterian Church, which is now the United Church. In my day, it was the Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
Okay, but in that church, I was baptized, committed, married, had my children baptized. I've been there all my life.
Wow.
And actually, the same church that's there. That's not the church, the same church that I was married in, but I was married in the in the church that replaced that. In the church that replaced. It was not United, it was the Presbyterian Church, and it became old and it needed replacing, and we managed to replace it with the church there now, which is the United Church.
Yes, okay.
Reverend Blackmon was the minister. Remember now, it's 75 years ago. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So the church was the center of our activities. And everybody that got married, I wouldn't say everybody, a lot of people got married in their yards because that was another big thing in West Bay. They had big, beautiful yards with conch shells all around it, and there weren't lawns, very few lawns. I don't know if there were any lawns, but white sand and conch shells and all that. Anyway, most of the big weddings took place in the church.
Okay.
And that was the easiest thing to do because you didn't have to worry about invitations and all that.
Right.
You just announced from the church that you were getting
And
married.
then everybody would come from that.
And everybody would come, and of course, everybody would go to the reception too. Well, I mustn't leave out Vernon. I gotta begin tell you about him.
Yes,
He
how did
came-
you meet him?
He is from Town. Was from
Okay.
Town. And I don't know whether that coming from West Bay and I from Town.
Uh-huh.
But he came from college in Jamaica,
Okay.
in Mico, and he on a government scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
and government sent him to West Bay School
Mm-hmm.
to work for his first year or year or two under Miss Beulah Smith. So he was a teacher. Well, it wasn't long before he and I were a couple. Although when he came to West Bay, I'm going to tell you the truth, he was the most popular person in West Bay when he came to West Bay. Because
Oh, my
everyone
goodness.
being our teacher,
Yes.
a young man from just from college,
Yes.
is in our midst.
Oh, yes.
So it's kind of natural that he would be.
Yeah, it
that he
created a
would-
lot of
yeah,
excitement. Yeah,
yeah.
back in those days.
Anyway, he and I fell in love, and that he came to West Bay in 1949, and in 1951 we were married.
Wow.
So,
And in those days, that's a long courtship, I think.
yes, but we weren't engaged for all that time.
Yeah, that was just the time that he came to West Bay. You would have met him. And
Yeah.
Then, yes. Okay.
And we would be doing cottage meetings, and he had a bicycle, and he would come with us, and he would give all the girls a ride. The girls would start at the church and go for a cottage meeting here, and Vernon would take them for a ride.
Tell me, what is a cottage meeting?
Okay.
Yes,
A,
that's so different.
a cottage meeting is, like I told you, everything revolved around the church.
Yes.
So in the church, every week or so, we would have a cottage meeting, which meant that we would go, a crowd of us now, maybe Christian endeavorers, or would go together, about 6 of us, girls and boys, would go to, or young, I should say, young men and young women, would go to a house of a shut-in and have a meeting, have a
Okay. Like a prayer meeting?
yeah, a prayer meeting,
Okay.
singing and praying, and
Yes.
Okay,
so that's nice.
and we did that, and that was when Vernon was most popular. Then, of course, giving the girls rides up and down on his bike, which wasn't which didn't have there weren't very many of those.
Okay. So he didn't have a big fancy car or anything, but he was still very nice to give him a ride on his bicycle. And
And so, well, as far as church cottage meetings are concerned, we'd go there, have a meeting this week, and next week we may go somewhere else and have another meeting. And then, of course, we had Christian Endeavor and weekly prayer meetings, and whatever we had revolved around the church.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Now I'm getting down to my wedding now.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, where do I begin now?
So you had a church wedding.
I had a church wedding.
Yes.
Most of my friends had church weddings. Then
Okay.
a lot of my friends were already married, and I had been bridesmaid for them.
So let me ask you, before we start to get into the details of the wedding itself, tell me a little bit about, in those days, how the engagement was done. He would have gone to your parents and asked for your hand in marriage first. Yes.
He would have. Most people used to write what they called consent letters. That's what they used in those days. But
Yes.
Vernon didn't write. He didn't write anything. He asked Mom and
Yes.
Dad, and
A consent letter. So they would ask permission in writing.
yeah,
Wow.
that's what most of the people did. He just let them know that, or asked them, and of
Yes.
course
They were okay with
Yeah.
that.
But-
And how old would you have been at
But-
this time?
about 20. But by then I had gotten 3 or 4. They had gotten 3 or 4 letters from other people, but
Oh,
they don't pay
really?
any attention. If they
Okay.
don't like or this is how my parents were.
Right.
If they didn't like the people, if they didn't think the people were, whoever sent a letter were
Serious
were-
contenders
yeah,
then.
they would you would send the letters back. I remember getting one letter from a guy from Northwest Point,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't know him very well. I knew him in school, but I didn't like him. And Mom just made me send the letter back, and I think I
Wow.
thought that was such a mean thing to do. But anyhow,
Yeah.
she didn't. She wouldn't have agreed with it.
Right.
And I
So
wouldn't-
people would send letters even though, like you're saying, this guy didn't really know you that well and you didn't like him. They would send a letter anyway.
Well, I suppose
They would try their
they
luck.
Would try. They would try their luck. I
Yeah.
suppose.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's interesting.
But in Vernon's case, it wasn't that way. He was
Yes.
visiting, and he knew that my parents liked him. Anyway, before he died, before oh God,
Before your parents.
my father died.
Yes.
My dad had died
Yeah.
because he had been sick. I mean, sick in bed,
Oh gosh.
sick in bed, and not able to see.
Yeah.
I suppose about a year at least, or might have been more,
Around this time.
around about this time.
Okay.
And he was sick a long time. He was sick for years and years and years. But I mean, after he met Vernon, he was sick about a year or maybe 2. I'm not sure about that. Before he died.
Okay.
But long enough to know Vernon and to
Yes.
know that that we were going to get married anyway.
Yes.
But before that happened, so I asked then Uncle Prentice, which I told you was Jenny's
Father. Yes.
or my uncle then, with whom I had worked before, to give me away.
Okay.
So, but I've still got to go back to tell you that when I say we, I don't mean Vernon and I mean we, the girls,
community and the girls,
the
yes.
girls usually in West Bay, the girls with whom I was friendly, planned to get married. We had to have a trousseau. And it is my trousseau that I want to tell you about.
Okay. Tell us what that means. Because
Well, a
I'm not
trousseau,
sure. Yes.
trousseau is wedding things from the very beginning to the last, from the veil,
Okay.
dress, everything that you wear for a wedding was what we call our trousseau.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
we thought, Verna and I decided that we would get married in December. So because of course as a Christmas wedding, people used to plan their Christmas wedding. Fine. So I sent to my uncles, my real uncles now, who were in the States, who used to send me things all the time. I was the family's pet. And they'd send me things whenever they got a chance
Yes.
to tell them that I was getting married. And they told me that they would send me, this particular uncle, Fred, told me he would send me my trousseau.
Okay.
Because everybody knew when you were
Yes.
getting married, you had to have a trousseau.
Okay. So it was like basically, did it come like in a package, everything together?
So, so this was supposed to come by ship. The Nunoco, I guess it was. I guess it was the Noco or the Nunoco. I don't remember which one. From the States. So that's where they were.
Okay.
But they couldn't get it here because nothing could be done when you thought you would do it. Because everything, for every reason, was
Always delayed.
always delayed. Not hours, days, weeks. Anyway, I couldn't get my trousseau. And you can't get married without a trousseau. Everybody has to have that. I couldn't get my trousseau till March.
Oh.
So, I don't exactly remember when I had told them, but maybe I told them. So my trousseau came. Then I didn't have to put up any bands or anything. You only had to ask the minister of our church, which was Mr. Blackman, to do my wedding, which he didn't do. He didn't get a chance to do because during the time that I told him and I could get my trousseau to get married, he had gone away on holiday and Mr. Hicks had taken his place. So it was Mr. Hicks, Reverend Hicks, that did my wedding.
Okay.
And my clothes. In the meantime, Mr. Gray, Reverend Gray, the same Gray that did the school and that did our church that we were now we live in, John Gray Church, came, he and his wife and his children, and we got very, very friendly like brother and sister.
Wow.
And he was going to do my wedding, in spite of the fact that by then he was the minister. He had replaced Mr. I'm not positive about this. I don't think it's important, but anyway, he was going to do my wedding, but he left. He had to leave on holiday or something like this, and so Reverend Hicks did it.
Okay.
My wedding.
So your December wedding becomes a March wedding.
Yeah.
Because you had to wait for that trousseau package
for
to
the
come.
package of the trousseau.
Wow.
No, the coming of that package has slipped me. I don't remember it, but I do know that once I had the trousseau and everything was fine, then the minister would announce from the church that I was going to be married. Lorna and I were going to be married, and on such and such a day, and such an hour, and everyone was invited, and it was to be followed by the reception, which is at my house, my parents' house now, the Powell's house.
Okay.
And that was all. That was that. Then my trousseau arrived, and the big thing was getting that and having a bed all cleared. Not only everybody did this, having a bed all cleared and taking the things and spreading them on the bed. Everything.
Wow.
There was veil and first and wedding dress and bra, panties. Everything. Stockings, shoes, negligee, slippers. Everything. My trousseau even had an umbrella.
An umbrella? Wow.
And everything had to be spread out on the bed.
Yes.
Everything except the dress. The dress, I remember, I don't know if other people did that, but I remember having my dress hung up and everything else laid out to you.
Amazing.
And then that was the big thing before the wedding. You know what's happening this evening? Francine is showing her trousseau. It had to be showed to the whole.
So people would come and look at it?
To my friends. I don't suppose that everybody.
Yeah.
But my friends would all come.
Thing.
And then at that time, they would bring their little gift for the wedding.
Okay.
I'm not telling you that some people brought their gift at another time.
Yeah.
But most of them, my friends, would bring their little things for the wedding. It might have been a towel and washcloth to match, or more or likely it was dishes. I have them in there now. In fact, I can show you some of my wedding dishes, little glass sets, or
that's amazing.
And they would bring them, and they would go somewhere in the room. That particular room was for my wedding things. That wasn't to be slept in. That was our house had 3 rooms, so one for me, one for mom and dad, and one for my wedding things.
Beautiful. Wow.
And
sounds like it was quite a production.
My dear, it was quite a production, but it was the thing for that time.
Yes.
I mean, nothing else was happening that week, because, like I told you, everything revolves around the church. So in that week, then, when I was showing my trousseau, or I was getting married, maybe the following week, that was the event for that week.
Wow, everybody was excited.
Everybody was excited. And anyway, then the reception, as far as I can remember, the reception was not a big dinner. It was, this one will say, I'll make you sandwiches. I'll make some sandwiches. And the other one said, I'll make some cookies. And the other one said, I'll have a cake. And the other one said, I'd make light cake. And they all said they would make all these things. I didn't even have to ask them.
Yes.
And they were laid out on a table on my room, on my yard, in the yard, in the Hennings yard that I stayed in.
Okay.
It was quite a big yard, actually. And I don't remember who made, but the men from next door made the tables, which would be long tables on how.
Probably in those days, would it have been mahogany or
some
what sort of wood?
Some sort of wood, and they would make the long tables.
Right.
So that was done, of course, beforehand.
Yes.
And spread with cloths if I had the tablecloths, okay, and if not, the neighbors would bring them, because a wedding like that now, everybody's involved in. When I say everybody, I mean everybody in the neighborhood.
Community, yes.
In my neighborhood.
Yes.
And then and there were, and we'd fix the table and put out some. If we didn't have enough things, and nobody would have enough, because we didn't know how many were coming, but we had a lot. And
tell me about the wedding cake. Who would be in charge of?
You got the wedding cake made from. The wedding cake was a big cake. I'm sorry I can't find that I saw it. I lost my. But anyway, there, I'll show you that much.
Yes.
That's my wedding
cake. So this was your, this was a 40th anniversary.
Yeah, but no,
so look
but
at that beautiful picture.
But
that wedding cake is gorgeous.
Yeah, a big.
Wow. Who would have done that?
A woman in Georgetown named Matty.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
It was about.
Wow.
6 years, but they weren't separated. They were one on the other one. I wish I could.
Oh, wow.
I wish I had remembered.
So this was your anniversary program, your 40th anniversary program.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Oh, beautiful.
But
I see Mr. Benson. He bangs did your tools.
Yes.
That was so beautiful. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Wow. We just put that there so our viewers can see it. And then they did your little family tree in the back. That's nice. That's very beautiful. But that's a big, beautiful cake.
It was a big, beautiful cake, fruit cake. And that's it. And it was just like, actually, the cake is the one modern thing about it. Because we still make cakes like that, and we still have the little
topper.
And in those days we had that. I don't know whether I've been trying to remember whether that came along with my trousseau or not. But it is possible that it came along with my trousseau. But I'm sorry I couldn't find those pictures.
Yeah, that's okay.
That is the picture, but it's my...
On the program there, yeah.
And then the cake, the table was set, and everybody came over, and we would have our meal, and then we had the reception, and the reception was I don't have any pictures of the reception, but the reception, well, I did have pictures of it, but was people that, well, Mr. Lee was one of my last teachers, and people from the church, Mr. Spurgeon and the older people were there.
Yeah, so it's a nice little celebration then of the nuptials. And did you have anything like beef? Would it have been common to have like Cayman style beef? Or?
I think that some people had it. I think that people who were married round about the same time, or maybe before, I think that some people had it. But I imagine that the wealthy, the people who could afford it might have had it. As far as I can remember, I went to weddings that didn't have it.
Right.
I had 7 bridesmaids and 7.
Wow, that's quite a big. That's a big wedding.
Oh, it was a big wedding. It was.
Yes.
It was. But most of my bridesmaids were my friends.
Yes.
Who are some are. Jan Lee was my chief bridesmaid.
Your maid of honor. Okay.
Maid of honor. Jan Lee is Vernon's first cousin.
Okay.
But she's also my best. She was also my best friend. Although I lived in West Bay and she lived in Boddentown, or in Boddentown, because she wasn't married yet. I married a little bit before her. And then I had my cousins, my kind of adopted cousins, and my best friends anyway. One was Mr. Billy Farrington's daughter, Marilyn, was one of my good friends. And let me see, it was then Kathleen was my cousin, my adopted cousin Kathleen, and Sylvia Henning, which lived just a little out from me, but my another good friend, and Rita Johnson, who just died a few years ago. She was she was a cousin of my adopted parents. She was there. So, and 7 of them.
Wow.
Who the others were, I can remember them.
That's okay.
Just for the fun of it, I'm going to get those pictures and let you see them one of these days.
No problem. Wow, that's something.
And so after the eating, after the toast, during the eating, of course, we had the toast. And that was toast. The toasts are very much like now.
Yes.
You would have different people. You would have asked them previously to toast however. And then after that, there was a big wedding, big dance in the town hall.
So you went from your yard to the town hall then for the dance. Oh, wow.
I had to go in, I drove, somebody drove me or other, I can't remember much. I had to drive from my house where I got dressed to the church, which is not far, and back to
the house for the
reception, and then to the town hall.
For the dance.
Yeah, I don't know if you have an idea where Henning Lane is, but Henning Lane is from the entrance to West Bay. You turn left, and Henning Lane is on that road.
Okay.
It's not far.
Yeah. Okay.
But I went to the town hall, and I wasn't supposed. I mean, I didn't have to stay long. It was just that the bride and groom had to appear
Right.
because it was their dance, but of
Yes.
course other people
Yes.
would have the dance, and I guess that went on most of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Quite
was
a
it.
production, even in
was-
those days.
It was a production, really,
Yeah.
even in those days,
Wow.
because it was one of the things that, one of the only things, one of the few things that was
Yes.
done in those days to you know, to,
And everybody just looked forward to it.
and everybody
Yeah.
just looked forward to it.
Beautiful. So you got married. What year was that? Do you remember what year that would have been?
51.
1951.
March, actually,
March 16,
March 15th,
15. Okay.
2 days from now will be our 73rd anniversary.
Wow.
73rd.
1951.
Vernon died before. Vernon died, we were married 65 years,
Yes.
and he died, March was 65 years, and he died in October. So almost 70 years.
My goodness. It's
That
amazing.
was a long.
Oh, yes.
Not 70, almost 67.
Almost. Yes.
66, almost 66 years.
Yeah.
60,
Wow.
65 and a half.
That's a lifetime.
And I can't tell you about my wedding without telling you that he was the world's best husband.
Yes.
He was good. He was a good man. He was, you know how I always think of what Joy said in his obituary. He was a gentleman and a gentleman. You know, he worked for government all his life. He never worked anywhere else.
Wow.
Because after school in after West Bay, then he was in West Bay three years. And then they sent him to Buttontown then as headmaster.
And so that means you would have gone to live
And went
in
back to live in
Buttontown.
Buttontown.
Wow.
And we lived there. And then from Buttontown, after a few years in Buttontown, government sent him to Reading for more whatever.
Schooling
more,
again.
More,
Yeah.
more education to take over the government position then of chief officer or whatever it is. Now they call it, in those days they call him chief education officer. No, well, I suppose it's much
Yeah.
the same now.
Wow.
And he lived there and he worked there until and while he was working there, he was in charge of education, in charge of personnel, in charge of, he went from one to the other one.
Yes,
but it didn't.
yes.
It wasn't like it is now that they have one for
For
They-
everything, yeah. He had to wear many hats back
yeah, he
then.
had to wear many hats. And well, if you mention Vernon Jackson now, to most people, to old people, they remember him and they'll tell you that he was a guy. He was a gentleman. He was. To tell you the truth, I suppose I might be the last person to have heard it, but I never heard one bad thing said about my husband.
Wow.
That as true as God is above me.
Yes. Amazing.
My husband was a good man, really, and he was a good, not only a good teacher, not only a good man, not only a good teacher, but he was a family man. We had our family. We had our family around us all the time. I took out this morning, I don't even know what they did with him, but pictures of him with our first. And then, well, before he died, you know about the teas we have, the get together of all our family.
Well, I tell you what, I know about them because a certain daughter of yours sometimes shares them on Facebook. But I'd love to know more about how that would have gotten started.
Well,
Yes.
we had 3 children. Joy, who all 3 children were married here in West Bay in the same church we were married in.
Oh, wow.
Because although by the time Andre was born, we had gone back to live in Bordentown because Vernon had been made the teacher in Bordentown. And so we were back in Bordentown as head teacher and wife, and that's how I happened to. Well, I would have signed the paper. I was politically minded from the beginning. Perhaps I got it from him, but I used to follow the news, and even when I was young, before Vernon came into my life, my daddy was the same and had one of the first radio stations in West Bay.
What?
I'm telling you, and he'd put on the radio in the evenings to get the news, worldwide
and you would
news.
listen to
And the people would gather from all around on the porch. We lived in a house with a porch all around, and they would gather around the porch with the fire, with the don't forget, with the smoke fire, because those were the days of mosquitoes, you know. And there would be one fire. Mom would make a fire on that end of the porch and one on that end, and people would come from all over the place to listen to this radio and talk about it, especially if there was a time of whatever
was going on. Yes.
And so I was kind of politically minded from then.
Okay.
So when I went to Bordentown and they started, that's how I became involved in the whatever it was that. Well,
this would now be women's right to vote, the suffrage.
We're
gonna take a look at that. Okay, I see.
Because Vernon's, how am I going to tell you this thing? Vernon's aunt is Aunt Evie. Aunt Evie lived with her sister, which is Vernon's mother, and her husband, Lionel, in their house, which was by the road, and another Presbyterian family, and the church was there. So when I went to Bordentown, the church was also the center of everything.
Yes.
So we would meet at this. Aunt Eva was also politically minded, and we would meet and have political meetings. And I was younger with my 3 children by then, but they were young, and I'd have that was the hub of Bordentown's politics.
Right.
Vernon's mother's porch.
Wow.
So, and we were living not far from there in a rented house, because at that time they had not yet built the teacher's cottage, which they did build for us, and we lived there for several years before we came back to West Bay. And coming back to West Bay is another story. So I don't know.
So you couldn't stay away from West Bay for long. You always came back.
I'll tell you, when Vernon came back from Reading University, they promoted him to. I guess that's why the government sent him. Promoted him to government offices.
Right. So he was out of the classroom now, on the management side.
And on the management side.
Yes. Okay.
But they didn't provide us with a house. It was more salary, but they didn't provide us with a house. So when we came back to West Bay, we had to decide whether, because the head teacher in Bordentown had to have our house now, had to have when they got him, I forget which one he was, Mr. Spencer or something. So we didn't have to rent a house then, but if we came back to West Bay, we would have to rent a house or go in my parents' house, which was empty, with my, except for my, I shouldn't say it was empty. My adopted mother lived there. We would take her to Town sometime, and she'd stay there, but she didn't like to stay in Town. She wanted back in her house. And by this time, she was getting
Up in age,
and senile sort of, not senile. Well, she had Alzheimer's before she died.
Yeah,
So we had to come back to her house then, or rent a house. Well, we thought we would stay in her house, but it didn't have any of the facilities and stuff that I had been accustomed to from the house in Town that they built for us. So we rented a house and fixed that one up, put in new toilets and all that, and got that livable. But by this time, we had gotten settled in a rental house, and we thought we would rent this one for a while, and then we'd build our own.
Yes. Let me ask you a question. When your husband went off to university, did you travel with him? You stayed?
I was home.
Oh, wow.
I was home in the house, the new teacher's cottage, which was very comfortable. And in the middle of the place, which we loved very much, you can't come
Your
up
little kitty.
And I stayed. I was at home with the three children. By then, though, I was working, and then I came to West Bay and I worked. I worked at when Vernon was away. I learned to drive because we had a little car. While he just after he started teaching, I think we bought a car, a little car, and I learned to drive after he went away. And then I got a job in at Cayman the Craft. It was in town. It was owned by Mr. Holston and Elizabeth and Otto Holston lived in it, owned it, and I worked for a while there. I think I was working there when Vernon was away. Vernon was just away just a year.
Yes.
And then I came to West. Then we had to make a decision then. We had to rent then, so we had to decide whether we were coming back to West Bay or staying in Town. And by this, the children could help decide, because Joy had gone to high school in Jamaica.
Okay.
We had sent her off to, and they could make a decision, help us make a decision, and they all wanted to come back to West Bay. So back to West Bay we came and rented a house, and then we
remained in West Bay
in West Bay, and then I worked as a teacher for a while, but I didn't have teacher training. I was pupil teacher, helper or something.
Yes.
So I worked as a teacher for a while, and then with Mayor Gray, with whom I was very, very friendly, we went to work in in the prep school of the old prep school anyway.
Yes.
We went to work there, and so I worked, and then the next thing was insurance, and that's where I worked with insurance with Harvey Stevenson, and I worked there until I retired.
Wow. Okay. So you did insurance sales.
Insurance sales and collection, and that's when I really got to know West Bay and West Bayers.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Because I used to have to go Northwest Point, Boats Bay, and all those places. But because I had always lived right in central West Bay was where we wanted to settle. And of course, I was still involved in the church, because every one of my children I got brought back to baptized in the church. and then the three of them married in the church, in the church that I still go to now, and every one of them had their children
Wow.
their children baptized in the church.
Yeah. So throughout your entire life, the church has been
The
part
center,
of the journey,
the center
of your life. Yeah. That's so amazing. So,
And you know what? When they made the teacher's cottage in Bottom Town, it was almost next door to the church too. We could just walk to the Bottom Town Church, Presbyterian Church.
oh, beautiful.
So
Wow, very convenient. Huh. So, of course, you're known in the community for being I don't know if it was the brains behind the operation, but definitely doing weddings. So, tell us a little bit about how did that get started?
just before Vernon decided to leave after he had put in the amount of time in government. Christine said to him, Christine was his secretary at the time when he left.
Okay.
She said, and I remember this very distinctly, she said, Mr. Jackson, we get so many inquiries from overseas about weddings, and you know, Mr. Hornets does a few weddings, but we really need someone that we can say will do weddings. And so Vernon decided to do weddings.
Wow.
In 84, he retired, and we started a company, Cayman Weddings.
Yes.
And we did weddings here in Cayman, and then we sent, by this of course we had, you know, the island had, we sent, we set up, what was it, set up a, what is it?
The little like a little gazebo for the weddings?
No, I'm talking about overseas.
Oh, like an overseas office, or?
Yeah, well, you set up, oh God, I can't remember what I want to say now.
But then that's so people overseas could get to know.
Yeah.
About
so we
the
set up
wedding.
tell me, Sandra, what
not an overseas office, like an agent.
No,
It'll come to you. Don't worry. But were you able to then officiate weddings overseas as well?
No.
No, that was just for people who were coming to Cayman.
You better take that off.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll come to you. Don't worry.
It's set up an office overseas, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Oh Lord. Why can't I think about the thing?
That's okay. Happens all.
Everybody has it. Joy has it. A big. People can go to it and see about and read it and see and see what to do.
Yeah, almost like a little informational booth or something like that.
But it's done by because now by then.
Well, now they do the website and all this
it was a website actually, a sort of.
Yeah,
it was a website.
Oh, okay.
In overseas anyway. Or set it up so that overseas people could see it.
Inquire about it.
But we started the weddings anyway, and before long, and we had an office in Centennial Towers, and we operated that for a long time, and Daddy died, and then Joy was our assistant, because she retired, and she came and helped us, and then she decided to then we started getting cruise ship business people inquiring about cruise ships, and she decided to open an office in town, which was such a good idea. Then in the meantime, of course, we were doing all the weddings. We did a lot of weddings.
Yes.
Vernon did over 4,000.
Wow.
But Joy is doing far more than we did together, because I helped him to make. Because we do what Joy did in the beginning. order the flowers and the photographer and
Yes, help them to arrange everything.
everything arranged.
Yeah.
After a while, then when I got queries from overseas from my website, then I would send them to her, because that was they would come to town in a cruise ship or whatever,
Right.
and they wouldn't have to come to West Bay to get their license done or anything. She could do it in
Yes.
town.
Okay.
But after a while, she became so busy that she had to do her own thing and not. Now there's no sort of difference between. I mean, we are two separate companies now. The same company, the same. I mean, we're still Cayman Weddings, but she has hers, Simpler Weddings, and she has nothing to do with
very
my
busy.
weddings now, nor I with hers.
Yeah.
Except now that I have stopped. I'm not doing anymore now. 3 weeks, 3 months this year. I believe it was the first week of January. I decided no more. Since it's been so much trouble now. That's what Joy would like to do too. I could do it easily because I know Joy was doing weddings, and I could
Yes.
say when people came to me,
You can go to
I
her.
say you can go to
Yeah.
Joy. Joy
Yes.
can't do that now because she wants to hold on to hers for Samantha. For Samantha to run the
It's a
business.
multi-generational family business now that you guys started.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But,
Now tell me something. You're talking about the what's it called? The trousseau. When did that fall? Because I mean, I've never heard of it. When did they stop using those? Do you know?
I have no idea because it is something that you must just have grown out of, I suppose. But it was done in my day, 7. And I'm not saying that everybody did it because to tell you the truth, everybody might not have been able to afford
it. Yeah. I
But
understand.
a lot, my friends did it. Practically all the people that I had for bridesmaids,
Yes.
those who had married before or those who came after me, had trousseaux. I mean, you know.
Yes. Now I see you've got a book here. Can we have a little bit of a look at that?
Because I couldn't find
This is the 60th anniversary celebration. So this is you again on this picture here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
That's and which
Yeah, you sit back down and just show.
Actually, that was before we were married. That's our engagement.
That was your engagement photo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can show us a little bit about this book. This is beautiful. 60 years. Wow, look at that.
60th.
Yes. So this was the celebration then for that. Beautiful.
That's
You know, in this picture here, that's you? You look, I should say Joy looks a lot like you in this picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I had to do a double take. I wasn't sure if that was her.
Yeah. That's Daddy, which isn't a very good picture of him at all, but that's our. Oh, this is our younger days then.
Right. Wow.
That's me
look
when
at
I
you.
was getting a little ride on the bicycle.
And you had
And
nice,
this is
beautiful long hair there, looks like. Wow.
Yeah. And that's Dad and I when we were, I think that's before we were married. And that's him. He was at university then. And this is us with our children. We were renting this house when we came back to Bottomtown, to West Bay rather.
Yes.
Joy.
And I can see he was tall and handsome, so I can see why
He was
all
tall
the young
and
ladies in
handsome.
West Bay would have been looking at him.
That was a guy. He was a handsome guy. And
Yes.
tall. He was really.
So you had two girls
2 girls and a boy.
and the boy, and the boy's the
boy
baby.
in the middle. No, the boy is in the
He's
middle.
in the middle. He's in the middle. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This I mentioned to you.
And this is you. This is you here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
And Mary Lawrence.
Oh, that's Miss Mary.
And Keith and
Wait a minute. Which one is you?
This one is me.
Oh, that's you. And that's Miss Mary on the other side?
And this is Mary.
Wow. She always had a good sense of style, I can tell you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Wow.
And then this is Vernon's brother's wife, Marjorie. She's a Caymanian too. She's a Chisholm.
Okay.
Marjorie, you know Marjorie Wood?
Yes.
Marjorie Wood.
Wow. Beautiful.
She was Margaret Chisholm's. This one is, I told you about Mayor Gray coming and we being very good friends, like sisters almost. Well, this is Mayor and I on the West Bay Beach. And this is Mayor and I too with Joy, Elizabeth Gray, and Sandy. And this is Joy and Jennifer. And this is Vernon and I with the 3 children. Who's
Beautiful.
Who's that? Who's this?
Beautiful. Yes. Okay. Wow. So gorgeous.
And this is our 25th anniversary. And we were in this house and we celebrated all our anniversaries, everyone.
Yes.
Not in this house, in fact, but in Jennifer's house, Joy's, everywhere. But every anniversary we celebrated.
Yes.
That's our 25th. That's which one is this? Our 35th. This is our 40th. And of course, Rita was one of my bridesmaids. And
this was 50.
this is 50. We went to Myrtle Beach for our 50th anniversary. And
That's 55.
53, 59 we went.
Wow.
Well,
And you look so happy. I see you're always got a big smile on your face when you're there with your husband. So you were obviously very happy.
We were happy.
Oh my goodness. And then you got some holiday memories. Beautiful.
Yeah. But those are the ones I so you could. These are all
Holidays and
yeah.
stuff, yeah.
We traveled a lot. After when we could travel. And that's like 5 of us.
Yes. Beautiful.
Vernon's 1000th wedding. He said when he had his wedding anniversary, it would be free, and he didn't know who it would be, but it happened to be an American couple.
For the 1000th person that
his
he...
1000th, yeah.
Yeah.
His 1000th.
Beautiful.
So we had Dax. That's him and me, and we had Dax and Pam. We had to supply their witnesses because they didn't. Some people would bring their witness. I haven't remembered.
Oh, so you brought them as witnesses? Oh, nice.
Yeah, they had to. The 2 of them had to come as witnesses.
Okay, beautiful.
This is the couple. And then Pamela Small, is my niece. And Dax, my grandson, or our grandson. And I don't know if there's anything else in here that I can show you that would be. Vernon's younger brother Keith is still alive. The 2 of them there.
Yes.
He lives in Baton Rouge.
Okay, wow.
And then we've gone on now to our children.
You made mention of your uncles being overseas. Did they remain overseas with their families?
Yes,
Okay.
and died there. They never came back.
Wow.
They never. Well, I don't know. They didn't come to my wedding, but I have a feeling that Uncle Fred did come, and Uncle Tom. Some of them came back, yes, but just to visit.
Yes.
You know, not to. They had established families.
Yes.
That, of course, is our eldest grandson. That's Dax, Brett, and Samantha and Bobby. And
Yes.
my dear, don't.
So now you've got grandchildren, great grandchildren.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, Kristen, that's Jennifer's other daughter, and this is Rita and her husband Dominic. I don't know. You might know him. I don't know.
Dominic.
His mother is Margaret. Margaret Potter.
Okay.
What do you say? Topsy? We
From
call her
Sandy.
Topsy.
Okay. Yes. Beautiful.
And they're two little ones.
Yes.
But this isn't it. This is
Yeah. So family, obviously, from day one,
was
so important.
Yeah, was so important.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided. Dad and I talked about it. We'd sit down and we'd talk about it, and we'd say, it's a long time we haven't seen Joy's children, or a long time we haven't. And we decided that we would have them all get together on Sunday evenings. We really
So
made
this is how the tea started. Yes.
And every Sunday evening, once we made the plan, every Sunday evening we would get together with the children. We would ask them all.
Yes.
And sometimes people would say to me, Francine, how can you have tea every Sunday evening? It must be a lot of work. But it wasn't a lot of work because we didn't make a lot of work of it. I made bread all the time.
Yes.
So we have bread and butter and cheese and guava dulce. You know guava dulce? Well, that's our main. And cake, cookies. I don't try to do a big meal. I mean, sometimes, of course, we would we used to have, would be a Sunday dinner, or sometimes through the day, but Verna and I always did a lot of entertaining. We were entertained, or at least I was an entertainer. I loved to have people. So having tea every Sunday evening was no big thing. And because we didn't make a big thing of it, they just came.
And you just did it.
And we just had what was there.
Yeah.
And that was always there. The only thing I can tell you that was always there was bread, which I had made, and cookies, and a cake, or guava dulce and cheese. Guava dulce and cheese was our chief thing, because of popcorn bread and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I remember Vernon and I talking before he died, because Vernon, he knew a long time before he died that he was going to die soon, because he had COPD and he had stopped going out. He had the thing in his nose all the time, you know.
Yes.
So I remember him saying, "Don't, Fran, whatever you do, sweets, don't stop teas. Continue having teas." Because it keeps the family together.
Yes.
Because actually, Jennifer's children, think of how traffic is now. Jennifer's children and how busy everybody is would very seldom meet Joy's children.
Yeah, everybody was so busy.
Everybody is so busy, and school and if we didn't get together on Sundays, so we.
You've continued that tradition.
Yeah.
So up until this day, every Sunday. Wow.
Every Sunday. Mind you, they don't come every Sunday.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, by having them every Sunday, I have people from church and people from everybody. I mean,
will come.
I really believe that practically everybody, or at least everybody in church, know now that we have tea on Sunday evenings. Because I say to them, if you're passing or you're out Sunday evening, come to tea stop so you can have a cup of tea. So much, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, beautiful.
So many times people just drop in that I don't know are coming. You know. And,
wow. That's beautiful.
So,
you said you were going to show me some wedding china. Some of the wedding gifts.
Oh.
Do you have that handy? I know you have now. This is typical. You know, Caymanian home with your your well, it looks like you have two pieces here that are put together, but all of your china cabinet. So you've got a lot of beautiful pieces and stuff there.
Well, I'll tell you about that. I don't have much now.
Oh, really? But it's full.
We've been married. We were married 65 years. So you can imagine 65. You can imagine how many things we accumulated. That's another thing I might tell you. Mm-hmm. When we decided, or I decided that, look, I can't, my children are getting married, then my grandchildren got married, getting married, and I'm going to the shop and buying these things, and I can't afford it now, and I don't need to look at all I've got.
Yes.
So the other day, it was before that, it's about 6 years ago, I spread my bed, well, my bed is always spread, and decided on which of the stuff that I wasn't using, and took everything and put it on the bed just like I had done for my trousseau.
Wow.
And I told my grandchildren, now my own children had gotten already what they wanted. I said, come such and such an evening and take what you want.
Oh, beautiful.
And they went. And since that, every one of them that get married take whatever they like.
Wow. Now show me the little spoons over here that you have in the corner. What are these little spoons? So you collect spoons whenever you travel?
Yeah, we travel.
Okay.
We collect spoons. After a while you get tired and and it certainly needs cleaning now. That's a big job that needs doing. But I'll show you what my wedding gifts were. A set of these.
Wow, beautiful.
That was, how much they would be now? 75 years old.
Yes.
73 years old.
Seems to me that they must have used very different material in those days because these things lasted forever.
Yeah. And then several things in here. But not a whole lot. It's here. It's here that I have.
Oh, wow, some beautiful pieces, though. Wow.
All of these little simadimas that I know that I don't use now.
Oh my goodness, beautiful.
These are things in our day that we would have for wedding presents. Someone would bring you 4 of these, or maybe a few of these. These are all a couple of these.
Beautiful.
And whatever was used in those days was brought for wedding gifts. And then towels and washcloth or whatever. Little sets of 3 or 4 of those, whatever. Most of the things here are wedding gifts. A big one would be something like that.
Yes. Oh, wow.
So, just little things, but they are things. I had a wishing well. I had.
Very beautiful.
But of course, you know what? The great-grandchildren don't want that now.
One day they will. One day they will.
Well,
they'll come around.
They don't want it.
Yeah.
They like a piece.
Yeah.
To put in somewhere special.
Yes. There's some beautiful sets here, though. This one is so pretty.
And,
wow.
Those I use. I know they belong to Rita. I'm going to give them to her, but those are what I use because
they're gorgeous.
Because I still have my those and those I use. Because I still have my.
You have several different pieces. Some different patterns. And then you have your little Christmas glasses and stuff here. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Absolutely gorgeous.
But she didn't go. She didn't. But I was kind of surprised, but I was willing. to run, to go to do it, and Vernon didn't have any objection, so we did it. I did it, but and I didn't mind not winning, because in truth and in fact we never expected to win.
Yes.
Because we had just gotten the vote for women to vote, and the two of us, Laurel and myself, ran against two men that had been in many times.
So you would have been the first women then?
Yeah, we were the first women to run. And they didn't, nobody made a big thing of it until recently they did that.
Yes.
But when they spoke about doing that, my children didn't even know that I had run, because I didn't make anything of it, because I'd lost. Now, of course, if I'd won,
that would have been a big thing. Still, even to run as you got the right to vote was a big deal.
We never thought anything of the fact that we had run and lost. I mean, so we had lost. Now, with Aunt Evie, we made a big thing of her because she she ran and won.
Yeah.
So,
but you guys set the stage for her to be able to do it. You see, that's why it's important.
We never thought of it that way. We didn't even know. I remember Jennifer being surprised when we got the invitation.
So you never even told them about it?
I didn't even think about it. I mean, we had such a full life, I suppose. There's so many things to tell them, but I didn't even.
Wow. Well, Miss Francine, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I've been trying to get to you for a long time, and it was well worth the wait. Thank you for sharing a little snippet of your 95 years with us. I really, really appreciate it. And may you continue to be blessed. I mean, I think you're an amazing lady.
Thank you. I now that I've done it, it wasn't really a chore. It wasn't really hard. I mean,
and you did well. We have a lot to talk. We have a lot to show our audience here. So thank you so much.
One of these days, I suppose I'll see it.
Oh yeah.
I hope you'll be able to cut out some of the times that I.
Don't worry yourself. Listen, you're 95 years old. I couldn't remember half of what you've told me today if it was me. Trust me. So you did an absolutely wonderful job. Thank you so much. Any kind of final words? I always like to give an opportunity. We have so much has changed about our way of life in Cayman. And so a lot of people listen to this. We play it on radio and then we share it on social media and stuff as well. If you had to leave a message for Caymanians, what parting words would you say to them now on this interview? It's a lot. That's the toughest question I think I've asked you today, right?
Well, I've been asked many times how is it I am living such a long life?
Yes.
My only answer to that is that God isn't ready for me yet, hasn't been ready for me yet. I try to live so that when He's ready, I'll go without any fanfare. I'll just go. And when He's ready, I'll go. Now, in my sometimes when I get really in my when I'm talking to people who this is what they would like to hear.
Yes.
Francine, why is it, how is it, what's keeping you alive so much? I'll tell you, laughing, loving, and lipstick. And then they have this big laugh because they're not expecting the lipstick part.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. When I get up in the morning and see myself in the mirror, I look a sight. But by the time I take my shower and comb my hair and put on my lipstick, I look like a human being.
Beautiful, yes.
Okay, so that's it.
Yes. Can I just say on that note, the whole time you've been talking to me, I've been admiring your hair. Your hair is absolutely beautiful. You have a full head of hair, and I mean it's gorgeous.
I've never done anything with it.
Wow.
Nothing.
Very beautiful.
Nothing. It's just
yeah.
Wow. It's good genes.
Yes,
as far as I'm concerned, because Mama's hair was the same. She, except her hair turned completely white. And mine would be nicer, I suppose, if it was completely white. But when I wash my hair, the black comes out.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for I said no at first, but of course
I know. I have a secret formula now. I just keep a pace steadily, just keep reminding them I'm still here, I'm still waiting. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
There are pictures of Cayman that we hold in our minds, and those impressions remain with us through the course of time. It's really a collection of the things we've done and seen, and if you know this country well, you know just what I mean. Like Louisito Heights making a fish tea, that's Cayman. Cassava cake and cold swanky, that's Cayman. A jobina drink and a beef patty, that's Cayman. And Herbie Martin, that belly, that's Cayman. Georgetown Harbor sleeping quietly on Sunday night. Captain Theo and Rex Crichton making Christmas bright. In Cayman Brack, the cocoa plum covers the ground like grass, and people you don't know at all wave hello as you pass. Country and western and dirty reeds, that's Cayman. Children sucking on a mango seed, that's Cayman. Nor'wester waves in Hogstye Bay, that's Cayman. Pirates Week, East End Day, that's Cayman. Mr. Howell's shoe shop in the older part of town, and Casuarina's leaning on the roadside in South Sound. To look out on the ocean and see various shades of blue. To walk the road at night and find nobody bothers you. Looking crabs with a little flashlight, that's Cayman. Nobody in town after 9 at night, that's Cayman. People in the airport know you by name, that's Cayman. At Rum Point before the Hyatt came, that's Cayman. A nation is a people living out the lives they choose, celebrating when they win, crying when they lose. And those who say Cayman is not a nation legally, it's very clear to me they missed the point entirely. Smelling jerk pork as you're driving by, that's Cayman. Christmas beef, button tonguefish fry, that's Cayman. Your car break down, you get a lift to town, that's Cayman. Sunday cricket, agriculture ground, that's Cayman. A downtown beach where children swim, that's Cayman. Mr. Jim, remember him, that's Cayman. Spots landing and Christmas breeze, that's Cayman. Miss Coney Macaroni